So the computer's still being passed around. We're going to eventually, if you did it yet. But thank you so much for coming out, everybody. It's 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Round of applause. No, but seriously. So yeah, we're talking about UI UX. It's user interface and user experience today. Before we start, does anyone here have any experience with using Photoshop, using any photo editor, using Illustrator? Raise your hand so you can see what we're working with maybe. Alright, that's like about half. Alright, that's cool. So we catered our demo to make sure that we have stuff for both people who've never done this before and people who have done this before. So we'll get to cater both parties.
Yeah. Even if you don't have Photoshop, we hope that you still get to see the process behind making something with the UI. Just learning different concepts.
Because most photo editors, everything's universal. It's just the concepts that you can learn and apply.
Theoretical parts.
Yeah.
All right. So. Okay. So what we want you guys to learn today, basically, we want you to know what user interface and user experience can really do for your app. It's really going to help you guys to learn what good design is and to try and implement these principles. That'll really help your app stand out in the crowd. We want to go over some of the basic features in a UI, so like buttons and combination of icons and text. That will give you a good understanding of what to include. Some of the basic tools and software, Photoshop, Illustrator, maybe some alternatives if you guys want to try that. And we're going to do a little workshop to create a basic UI screenshot and an app icon for the team. And then we're going to give you resources so you guys can learn some more things about design and kind of practice and try things out. So what is a user interface? Does anyone have an idea? Okay, feel free to shout it out. No, I can just explain.
That's what the users see.
Exactly. Yeah, it's basically the first thing that the user is going to do when they open up your app, or first thing that the user is going to see. I guess you can call it a fresh coat of paint. It's the first layer on top of the app, and that includes a lot of visual elements, so buttons and different layouts and text and everything. And user interface is really important because, as I mentioned before, it can really help your app stand out in the App Store. There are over 800,000 apps right now, and for your app to have a really sleek, modern, or good design, as well as function, can really give you guys a boost and give that company a boost too.
Yeah, so we're gonna actually use some examples of what we thought are really just great designs for apps. This app is Circa. It's a news engine app, and as you can see, these are 3 different aspects of the app, and you can see the color scheme throughout is all the same. They have this nice teal color. It's teal, right?
Yeah.
It's teal color. There's a lot of names for it. Cyan, teal. Little things that make it more aesthetically pleasing for the user, and it has the same iOS 7 themes, the app, even though it's made by Apple, so that makes it even nicer to use. It makes it so it feels like it's integrated in the system.
Yeah, you can see there's different placement of buttons and visual cues. So up there in the nav bar, it says sections, and then there's an arrow that's pointing to the left. So that is a user interface element that gives your user a cue to go back. And that's the stuff to think about in terms of helping a user go through the app.
Alright, and I'm sure some of you guys have seen this. Facebook is a really, they have how many users, how many millions of users, so they have probably the best app developers out there working on their engine. And so you can see that they have the news feed bar throughout, they have the blue theme going throughout. And what I think is really cool about the Facebook app is the chat function where you have little bubbles pop up. It's such a small thing, but it's so nice when you're talking to people on your phone, you just have little bubbles pop up in the name, little alert icons pop out and everything. And yeah, so that's Facebook.
Yeah, the blue part, the blue color theme is really important because that is the brand identity of Facebook. Everyone can recognize that it's Facebook based on something as simple as color choice.
Yeah, and this is Tumblr. Actually, I never used Tumblr on that. You want to explain this one?
Yeah, this is just another example of how color choice and consistent UI can really give like a strong brand identity. So if you were to use Tumblr, you would recognize this based on the color, and if you go to the website, like everything is the same, so there's a really strong consistency in the design. And this thing on the right here is really interesting in terms of user interface and user experience, because if you click the right post button, it brings up this kind of unique feature that allows you to post in different ways, and that's just like an example of something cool.
They also have like a nice gray background, so because people are posting a lot of photos on Tumblr, so it's anything can work with gray pretty much. So rather than have like a yellow background, it's gonna be distracting. They decide to keep it simple and make it so it's really the photos of what you're looking at the app.
I like asking, like,
oh yeah, so I'm sure a lot of you guys have smartphones. Are there any apps that you guys like love to use that just like, damn, I love the design of this app, I love the UI. Anybody just shout out an app name?
Like Snapchat?
I think I have a couple things to work on. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Snapchat's design at all. But
Evernote?
that's a good one.
Can we look at that?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we're going to be working with Evernote pretty soon on things, and a lot of our apps can actually integrate their API for the apps that we build, and that's just like a future side. Oh yeah, unlock. Did you unlock it?
Sorry, everybody.
Oh yeah. Oh, I thought everyone has.
You should join now.
Yeah.
Evernote, if you don't use it, I recommend you use it, because if you have any idea you want to write down, it's something worth writing down. If you don't remember it later, you can make random to-do lists and whatnot.
And with the colors being worked here,
Apparently they're like giving out premium accounts yesterday at Base Day. So I was like going through the building trying to find them, and I was looking for the green shirts because I figured they'd have green on. So I couldn't find it.
You're in the 6th floor.
On the 16th?
Yeah.
I think I just missed them.
No, I was looking for them too. They didn't make them clear.
Yeah, my friend got a free, like, 1-year premium for
They were giving away web services for
Yeah, Amazon Web Services.
anyone who came got on the orange web services.
So Evernote's a great example. I mean, does anyone have any other ideas for apps that look at? Mailbox is awesome. Does anyone need to use an app called Mailbox? They use
yeah.
It is more like UX. This app's awesome. It's really great.
Really unique mail application.
Yeah, I recommend you guys. It's like $3, but they do this thing where they want you to empty out all your mail going throughout the week, so it's like you always stay on top of things, and it's actually like a really good system. It keeps me reading my mail and everything, so look it up. Paid by them.
Alright, so now that we've like established what user interface is, you can see how it can work to benefit your app. Now we're going to move on to user experience. So this is a quote, a really famous quote by Steve Jobs, a little bit like overused, but it's still really relevant to what we're learning. Design is not just what it looks like and feels like, design is how it works. So user interface is really important, you know, like if you make your app great, basically it helps you a lot, but at the core of your app, you need to have good user experience. It has to be functional, it has to be a pleasing experience for your user. If you have a pretty app but no one knows how to use it, then it's honestly like really useless to have that kind of stuff.
I have one comment. You know the Circa app that you showed?
Yeah.
It said like swipe to read or something, and like it actually had it on there. So you see swipe to see why, like it helps the user see. Like you would think that it should be intuitive for that, but they actually make it very clear for the user.
Yeah.
Like you have to swipe to see why, and stuff like that. That's really good.
So user experience, if you think of user interface, it's going to be like on a micro level, like it's the interaction with the user, but the user experience is going to be on a much larger, bigger picture. You really want to focus on user experience as being a way to please the user as they use the app. And so why is it important? Well, again, like, your app should be functional. You should be able to help your user go through the app without much problem. You want to make it easy and kind of enjoyable, I guess. This is a quote by Gorelick, the famous German designer. Good design is as little design as possible. Basically the core of this quote. When it comes to user experience, you don't want to like burden them with too many features. You want to keep it simple and straightforward so that they can complete an action and then be done with it.
Yeah, especially because the iOS is, you only have 5-inch screen to use it, like 7-inch you get ones like tablet phones. And it's such a smaller space to use, so you don't have room for like all of like, the back buttons undo and all that, so you have to use swipe functions for it. So user experience especially is prevalent on iOS when you're using a touchscreen. Oh yeah, so here especially, I'm sure lots of you guys have used the new iOS 7, it's the thing, it's all the rage now. So iOS 6, you have to use the little, to close it out, you have to hold down, is it double tap or hold down? Double tap to open it, and you have to click each one. So meanwhile, iOS 7 has a screenshot of each one. It's so, like my favorite part of iOS 7 is just like going through this, like swiping away from ones I don't want. And it's such like a refreshing feeling. I'm that out of it. I don't know if I didn't relate on that.
But if you think about it, like the iOS 7 multitasking has one less step. In the iOS 6, then you have to double tap and you have to hold the app, wait for it to like shake and then exit. But iOS 7, you just double tap and swipe. And it's that like one less step that can really make the user enjoy using this more.
Yeah. This is just, I'm sure you guys have filled out hundreds of these. They suck to fill out. Like this is what you normally deal with, and it comes up with a keyboard, and you have to type it in, and then like you have to hit enter. Sometimes it goes to the next page and messes up. This is what we think is a great user experience design. We've done it so many times. They know that you know what you want to enter in, so they just make it simple for you. They make it easy to fill out. They drop down menus that are nice to use, and even though they're taking your money, it's a nice way. So.
Yeah, this actually goes on much longer. It's just cut off. Less than 2 years.
Alright, so this is pretty much the end of our presentation, but now you can ask, how can you start? I know half of you guys raise your hands, so how can you continue to be a great designer, do great app design? And we're going to show you how to do that. These are the design programs you can use. Photoshop and Illustrator are the big two. They have like monopoly almost on the whole thing, on the whole design program industry. But here's some third-party, not third-party apps, but they're different alternatives. This is called Paint.net if you're a Windows user. It's like a glorified Microsoft Paint, put it that way. I recommend you get this. It's great. Like they have layers, they have different features. It's like a great stepping stone to using Photoshop. Like, go get it. And this is Pixelmator. Pixelmator is this one, Pixelmator. Pixelmator, it's like it's $15.
Yeah.
$15 in the App Store. It's like rated one of the best like non-Photoshop photo editors, and you can do lots of stuff with it. It takes a little bit to figure out. It's affordable, more still than Photoshop.
Yeah.
And what is Sketch? I never used it.
Yeah. The middle application is called Sketch. It's kind of new, and it's meant for like UI designers and web designers. It's kind of pricey. It's $50, but it's an up-and-coming software that a lot of designers are like trying to switch over to, especially because Adobe is trying to take all of our money now. They're doing a monthly subscription. This is not cool. But Sketch is really fast. You get a lot of things done really quick. You can export all your different UI elements really simply. If you guys are serious about design, like you want to do more things, then you should definitely try and invest in Sketch.
Yeah. How many people in here are in comm? Just raise your hand if you're in comm. And raise your hand if you're in CFA. Right? Okay. You see, we need, this club started with engineers and computer science people. Raise your hand if you're an engineer or a computer science major. Right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So that's most of you guys. what we're trying to do, like, this club isn't done growing. We're trying to expand more to CFA and COM because they have labs where they do have Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator, and that's one thing we're working on at an administrative level to get access to for free. And then maybe you'll start seeing a bunch of COM and CFA kids around here because we need them for design, and that's something you work on all year long. This presentation is because engineers and computer science majors really need to consider design when they're building their applications. But at the same time, design is a year-long thing. If we're working on this app all year, we're also going to simultaneously be working on design all year long until you finally publish the app to the App Store. You're still going to want to make it look prettier and prettier every step along the way. So if you do have friends in COM or CFA, then tell them to come. We're still recruiting more, and we're also going to get labs so that you guys can access this software for free. But if not, if you have a way to get it on your own computer some other way, then feel free to do so. We're not suggesting anything.
It's great that you guys are here though, because you can kind of do something that seems really disjointed from engineering and computer science, but they actually, in terms of app development, can really go hand in hand. Yeah, be an interesting experience.
Yeah, presentation is half the battle. If you have a mediocre app, you can make it, and you have a great designer, you can make it an amazing app you can catch on. But you want to have best of both worlds, of course.
Right.
But you don't want to have like a really beefy app that has like no design. It's all like the code texting, so you don't know yet.
Yeah.
So. And we recommend that you really immerse yourself in design if you want to get better at it. Like anything you do, like music, design, like music or like languages, anything. You have to just really immerse yourself. And so design should happen naturally. If you like design, do it more. If not, then well, we'll still be friends with you. Second is do projects. So we've been doing projects. You've been doing projects.
Yeah.
I'm engineering, by the way, so I just do this on my free time. Should we show some projects?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, that's really good.
This is just like something I do with App Center over the summer. It's not really app design, but it has to do with their website. Just different projects that I've been working on, like implementing stuff, making it work. Yeah, that's one.
I use a lot of Illustrator because I love Illustrator. It's about like vector-based painting. So pretty much you can take apart your design like piece by piece because every piece is vectored. Not that. We'll show them the icons, I guess. Yeah. So like I made this just I was in econ lecture and I was really bored, so I just started making this. I made a square and I rotated it. I made it black and white. I put some things. And the best part about this is like every part of this, I can take out the period and hello and do something with that if I want. I can take out the white piece if I want. And of course, you can extend it still.
Just one comment. There's another alternative for vector programs called Inkscape.
What is it called?
It's freeware called Inkscape, which is also a vector program, which is very good.
What's the cost of that, economic cost on that? Is it free?
Yeah, it's open source.
Wow. Actually, I'm gonna look into that actually.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah, we're gonna send out a resource kit. After this, so like all the stuff we're telling you now, we can send out an email. We have links to we'll send that in, I guess. This is definitely cheaper than Illustrator. Yeah.
This is just an example of doing projects. I know like 2 engineers who wanted to do something with the website involving like college textbooks. So we're all working together on the side in addition to school. So we're trying to do some different things with the website. So that's just an example. Like get connected to other people from other majors. Think about maybe starting something on your own and working on the side. That's part of how you can immerse yourself in design.
So also, when I said projects, sometimes as an engineer, I'm not in CFA, so they're not giving me homework assignments to do. So for projects, the common actually showed me this website. It's called Scribble. And this is where developers, it's kind of like a forum for people post their websites. It's just Scribble with 3 Bs. You guys can look it up on your own. If you're getting bored of the presentations, it's scroll through mindlessly. But there's some really cool stuff on here. And I figured I'd want to try to learn how to make these in Illustrator because maybe I'll learn how to be like these really good guys in Illustrator. So I found a really simple thing to do. This one. So I found this one on the website, and you can see it's all pixelated and whatnot. And what I did with it, I actually made the equivalent in vectors in Illustrator just for practice, and I did textures and everything. And if you open Illustrator later, we can actually zoom in on any point in this, and you'll have any pixels ever, because that's what the vectors is. You just don't have to worry about pixels, which is really cool. So if you want to blow up a huge poster or something, you'll get to do that, and it'll be nice, beautiful, curvy lines. What else is there? That's it for now with that. Where's the presentation? I was looking for PowerPoint. Oh yeah, same. Also, when you're learning how to do these things, this is like a learning on the job kind of thing. Kind of what you're doing. Yeah, learn as you go. So look up tutorials. People make so many tutorials for any open source program. I'm sure
Inkscape.
Inkscape. I'm sure Inkscape has tons of tutorials. You might have never heard of it. Illustrator has tons. Photoshop has thousands of them. They're really useful. And then fourth is just practice.
Yeah, practicing.
Yeah.
And these are just a list. This is a list of different resources, but we're going to email everyone basically these links and maybe some more as well.
Make sure you're on the attendance list or you're in the system with us so we can get outreach to you guys, of course.
And now we're going to do a demo.
Alright. Are you going?
Yeah, I'll do the Photoshop.
Alright, so we're going to start with Photoshop.
Wait, so how many people have Photoshop right now? That's totally okay.
Because you can apply not any photo editing program, but
yeah.
If you have any other alternatives, you can do the same principles in those.
Right. I'm just gonna right now with Photoshop. I'm just gonna go through making like a really basic screenshot of like a newsfeed kind of thing, and I'm gonna show you guys this website right here called TNLax. You guys should check it out. It's a team of two that started like 11 years ago, and they've really expanded. They do a lot of work with the web and different projects, but something that's really useful here is that they have iOS 7 and iOS 6 UI kits. If you go to tools on tnlax.com, there's a giant Photoshop document full of different parts of iOS 7 that could really help you guys start off with designing your app. Keyboards, pop-ups, etc. It'll make things a little bit easier if you want to like mock up different screens. And then here's iOS 6 if you need that.
What were the guys who started it? Is that them?
Yeah, that's them. That's like their Christmas picture. But if you want to download this now or later, it doesn't matter. It might take a while to download, so you can just like watch it. Start it off. So for designing for iPhone 5, you should know the dimensions that you can just Google that online. So it would be file new. So it's 640 for the width, and then it's 1136 for height. And because it's Retina, we're going to do 326 pixels per inch. So this is just a basic iPhone 5 portrait layout for design. So the great thing about having the TNLax UI kit is that you can go through the elements and pick out what you want and then just drag them into your document and just place them there, and it's really easy. If you're unfamiliar with Photoshop, it works in layers, so everything here is grouped into its own separate layer that you can choose individually and then drag it over. So you can only affect that layer and everything else stays the same. It's really convenient, but sometimes confusing. So I think it would be good to start off with this one right here, this title, and you can see that this user interface element plus sign symbol symbolizes like you clicking it to start a new post or something. So that's really useful for an MVC. So let's try that. This is where the link is going to trying to find. Okay, so this one, navigation bar, search, you can see that this element is selected, so only this layer is going to be affected right now. So I'm going to click it, and I'm just going to drag it to our document. So here we go. We have this UI element placed here. Just a basic thing to help you guys get started. I'm going to drag it up so that it lines up at the top. There should be like a yeah. And so the next thing we want to add is a box to contain like a status update or something. And that's really easy to do because Photoshop also has vector shapes. So if you go down here, there's a rectangle tool, and all you need to do is just this out. It's doing something weird, so if you press Alt and then pressing Alt will just make it a regular rectangle. Okay, and so here you can edit the shape up here, and because it's right now it's empty and then there's a border around it, we're going to change it so that it's filled with a color. So here's a stroke where the outline is. We're going to get this white box with an X so that it's empty now. And then we're going to fill this with another color. So we can choose gray. Something simple like that. And if you wanted to add a drop shadow to just add like a visual element to it, you can just double click on this layer. Please let me know if this is like really confusing too, because I can slow down and just explain this better. But if you double click on this layer, you can add different things to the shape. So you can do an inner shadow if you do this, or you can do a drop shadow if you do. We're going to make it a really subtle shadow, so it's not too strong. So the distance can affect. You can just mess around with these settings and try and get your desired effect. So that's basically it. The next thing we can do is just make a blue bar to highlight who is speaking. That's another UI element that you can add. That's a minor thing, but it really could, help the user understand like what's going on. So, change this to blue. Do text tool. And again, if you wanted to add different elements from here, just browse through, try and find something that you want. Go ahead and add it here, here, and then add text. Also, there are a lot of resources online if you want to add some more icons. This is one I found called ntypo. You can download an entire icon set, open up in Photoshop, do the same thing with the TM Labs document, and isolate like the icon that you want. So here's an up arrow. Place an arrow here. Make it larger. And then drag it around. So that can help you guys if you want to add an icon for like mailbox or something something else. It's just really easy to drag and drop. Just like the rest of the image.
We're going to copy image. Yeah. So if you know these masks and stuff in Photoshop, you can see his face right there, Calvin's beautiful face. You can take an image and you make a circle mask over it, just to copy it in. These are just different utilities you can use in Photoshop specifically. I'm sure other photo editors have masks too.
And if you start having like too many layers, you can just group them and identify them based on what they are in the UI. So that can help you identify not only your UI, but just where your layers are. So just gonna add it in there. Text. Do you guys follow so far? Is there anything you want clarified at all? So yeah, if I wanted to group the name, or if I wanted to group this blue bar with the rectangle, I just press Command and select both of them. I hold Command and select both, and do Command G, and then I'll make a group, and I can just call it status update box. And that's really easy to identify.
If you don't know the key commands, you can also just like right click on both of them and you can end up getting grouped through that. So.
And then at the end of it all, like when you want to export certain elements. Okay, yeah, yeah, actually, this is it.
All right.
So this, yeah, so basically this is like, you know, really bare bone UI, but it's not too hard to make. You just need to identify like what shapes you need and what different elements you want to include, and then you can look up tutorials or use the resources here with the UI kit. Just drag the elements, drop them, and then play around with it. Look at patterns, the website patterns.com for inspiration, so you can just mess around with that. So again, those.
Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how to make the app icon itself, because that's like some apps, when I imagine them, I think of like the icon, like, I think that's a really important part of having a good app, having a good icon on the home screen you can click. I'm going to open up Illustrator, and we're going to do some vectors. So you saw in Photoshop, he was sampling some other vectors that people made already. Here, we're actually going to make it from scratch. So this is what I like to do. Should I? Oh, wait. And I'm actually going to look into Inkscape after this and see if it's if it works out well. Is that on Windows and
Yeah, it's cross-platform.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah. Patrick, do you use that for like for logos and stuff? Or what?
I use Illustrator now, but I started with Inkscape because it's a good community and starting place for vector graphics.
Yeah, Patrick actually, Patrick and Calvin both worked on the Global App Initiative logo, and that was done by that was originally created by Calvin, and then Patrick also worked on it, and so yeah.
Alright, so today actually we're going to use that logo that they both created, and we're going to end up making it, we're going to make one of these. So if we ever did want a club logo, we're going to get to have it so we can all talk to each other in our new little exclusive app that we only get from coming to the meetings and writing your name down and whatnot.
Maybe you guys can come up with like your own team logo for like once you have your app for whatever nonprofit you're working for, you're going to want to create a logo for that team, for that nonprofit, and that's going to be your brand. So pay attention.
Yeah, exactly. So here we go. So this is the only thing I'm going to start with. I looked up online, I cheated. I looked up what the radius of the circles are, because it's not obviously a square, it's a rounded off rectangle. Square. Well, the same thing technically. So I'm going to make, I'm going to make it so each side of the app is going to be 800 by 800 pixels. I started, if you guys want to follow along in Illustrator, create a new document that's 1000 by 1000 pixels. And then you can follow along. I think I'll go slow enough that you guys can all follow. But we'll make a line that's 90 degrees. And we'll start with this line. So we'll transform it. We'll make it so that it's, and so transforming it makes it so that rather than dragging it around, you can make precise calculated measurements and whatnot. So we're going to make it the x, just if you've done any basic math, you know the x and y axis. X is going to be 200 on the side, y is going to be 500. So we're going to make it in the center. The width is going to be good, and we're going to make this 1000. Alright, so the line is going from top to bottom of the screen. Now these are going to be the grid lines to start our app. We're going to copy this. We're going to give it some texture so you can see what we're working on. There we go. So now we can be able to see our lines. Look at that. And here we go. So we have another one. It should be the same dimensions, but it's not in the right place. So we're going to make it so it's now that side is 0. This is 1000 over there. We're going to make it so it's 200 from the left, so that it's going to be 1000. Or, oh, sorry. Yeah, 1000 minus 200, 600. This one's in the wrong place. We're going to make this 100. Now, 1000 minus 200 minus 200. Oh, we're making 600 pixels. Right? Sorry. Not 800. This one's going to be 200 from the left, so it's going to be 800 pixels, and it's going to be in the middle again, 500. Alright, and then we're going to make it so, we'll do some basic math. So we want the app to be, we want the radius to be 1/5 of the side. So we're going to make it, so 600 equals the length of the side. So 600 divided by 5. Anybody here? 120. That's enough. 120. So that's the radius. So we want the diameter of each circle. We're going to make circles later. It's going to be 120 times 2. Times 2. 240. So we're going to end up having, we're going to try to make it so there's another line that's at 240. So we can eventually, we're just making the grid for our app at first. So we're going to copy another one. We're going to make another line, transform it. To make it so it's going to be 200 plus 240, so it's going to be 440. And it's going to be y is 500. We'll take care of the y's in a little bit. That looks good. Another line, paste, transform. Now 600 minus 240. Anybody want to help me on this math? For 360? Is that right? That's not right.
No, I think you want to do 560.
560. Oh, 800 minus 2. I can't do math when I'm up here. It's too intimidating. Alright, so now we have 3 of these, and you could make them all on the y-axis again, or you can just copy and paste these ones. And then we're going to transform, and the beautiful thing about transform is that you can rotate it 90 degrees. You can see it's not centered, so we're going to center the whole thing. 1000 by 1000, center is 500 by 500. And there we go. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. Alright, so this basic square right here is going to be the outline of our app, but we want to have rounded edges. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the rectangle tool, you hold it down, and you pop up with the ellipsis tool. We want to go from zoom in. Zoom in is Command plus. That's a really nice one to have. Minus 0 actually makes it zoom all the way out. I love those. So we're going to make it start the intersection. So we're going to make sure both of the intersection lines kind of go green. Go from there, all the way down to the bottom corner. Like so. And we don't want it to be like that. We want it to be red. We want it to be empty. This is the outline, right? Gray outline. Alright. There we go. And so we have one square, or one circle. We're going to copy the circle. We'll make sure the dimensions are right first. It should be 240 by 240. That's perfect. The dimensions are perfect. We're going to copy this 4 times. Move this over here. Copy it again. Put it down here. And if you guys are following along, you can do this all as well. Alright. There we go. So this, you can kind of see the shape is starting to form of the app. And the dimensions should be perfect since we use the transform tool. And now we're going to actually combine the shapes. This is Illustrator specific tool. If you don't have Illustrator, I'm sure you can figure out how to do this on your own. But we're going to use the shape builder function. And we're actually going to connect the shapes together. The top one's bugging out. Exit out of this. Delete this. Maybe this would happen. Top one, top surface. Copy, paste. Alright, this should work now. So highlight everything, control, Command A, and you're going to want to use a shape builder to connect the circles together. And we're slowly making the shape. That one's button up too. Doing this to me. These. You guys can see what we're going for. Alright, exit that. Sorry. Delete this. That's not what we want either. Alright. Sorry everybody. Shape builder. Yeah, I could show that. Alright, we use a shape builder to fix them all.
It's like the last thing to do. Well, yeah.
This should work out.
Yeah.
These people who are doing illustration as well.
You guys have any questions so far about any of the functions or things?
Alright, there we go. Now it's. Alright, so your shape builder tool should work. It worked for me earlier. We end up having a shape that looks like this. For those who are following along, I'm sorry that it's bugging out right now. It kind of bugs out because sometimes when you make shapes intersect each other, it makes it so the circles are joining the squares, like this is joining each other. So that sometimes bugs out. But pretending that that didn't bug out, this is what happens now. We have this shape, and it's not quite a beautiful gradient yet, so we're going to delete that. This. Alright, so we have our shape right here. What we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to find the Go App Initiative logo. So you can either ask whoever made the vector to get the vector file, or you can just do it the most kind of the easier ways. Global App Initiative.
Get out of this club.
App Initiative. Wait for it to load. New Wi-Fi. Let's go. The logo's right here, so we're gonna make the page a little bit bigger. Screenshot of our logo. That looks about square. Copy that. Go back into here. Paste it. We'll make this on a new layer. Calvin was talking about layers earlier. This makes it so it's a lot easier to manipulate each part at a time. So this is all going to be independent from the shape that we made earlier. There's the logo. And right now it's still image, so you can see that when you zoom in, it's all pixelated. So this is like the bread and butters of Illustrator right here. Everybody watch, this stuff's amazing. We're going to image trace. You can choose any of the image trace. We're going to do high fidelity photo. That usually gets you the best results. And now Illustrator actually used its algorithms and its magic to make it so there are 0 pixels on this image now. So now the image turned into a vector image magically. So now we can make it into a big poster, we can make it into a small image without having to worry about any pixel problems. Because it made it so there's algorithms for each part, so you can translate the algorithm into the size you want. And now after you do that, you're going to want to hit expand. And now we have all the lines and curves for each part. That's pretty awesome. And now we're going to, so we have this layer right here. We can change the size later. we're going to make it so it has a nice gradient background like you guys saw earlier but weren't supposed to. So we're going to click on our triangle. This working now. There we go. Click on this gradient. It's not a triangle.
It's okay.
Gradient tool. Where is it? Why isn't it popping up? Oh, it's right here. Okay. So we'll start. Do this. That's what I made already. But so I made. This starts off with linear, and it starts off. I think this is usually like a black over here. It usually looks like that when you click as a brown or whatever. So what you want to do to make it look just like a nice logo, you can mess around with any kind of gradients you want. But I like the radial because it looks like it's a rounded square, not a triangle. And you're gonna have, you can change the color to be any color you want. This color, this color. We're gonna try to make it blue just so it's aesthetically pleasing. It matches the Global App Initiative logo. And then, so once that's ready, just hit exit the top of it. Layers. Oh, that's what you're. Alright, so now we're going to make the logo pop back up. And you can see that we don't want that white square to be there because it's down. So we're going to hit isolate, we're going to highlight and hit isolate selected path. And we can delete it. There we go. And exit. So now we have our logo. It's on top of this nice path that we made. And the colors don't really match up, so you can edit that pretty easily. Gradient. Go here. Whatever color you want. Color looks a little better, right?
Yeah. So you can see the logo more. So
yeah, that's what you want. And we make the logo a little bit bigger, so we can go back to our layers panel. On this side, this one. We can transform it. Get a tool. And we'll hit constrain width and height proportions so that whenever you change each one, it's going to move as a whole. And you can make it bigger or smaller. Really slowly. Bigger. So make whatever size you want so it actually fits the app size itself. That looks like a decent size, right? And, when you're doing the image trace, sometimes it gets like a little buggy, so just leave the parts that look ugly. There we go. Let's see again. Yeah, so there is a logo for a potential app that we haven't made yet, but there it is. Now you can do whatever you want with it. Eventually we can learn how to actually make this, so we'll bring it into Xcode and learn how to actually work with it as an app. Go into the section? Sure. Alright. Yeah. So this is how you actually get the gradient.
slicing is basically just isolating the elements that you want to export, and then you can save them as an image. So for your developers, you can just send them those files, and they'll include it in the export.
Like today,
Oh,
we're
okay.
teaching you guys how to. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know.
No, I'm about the slicing.
Yeah.
Right now, if you guys want to do specifically design, you don't have to worry about having to transfer into Xcode necessarily, because we have so many people in this group. We'll have some of the programmers. We'll just give them the pictures. We'll give them the design, and they'll be able to work with it. Ideally, you want to do both, but today we're just doing the design end. So.
Yeah. So yeah, we want you to be able to make, just like a working UI and different elements like that, and kind of put things together to make something that you can eventually be able to slice up and then.
So once you make this logo, what's the final file that if you were to pass it on to someone and use the logo for their app, it would be like
PNG would be a good file.
yeah, PNG.
Yeah, and you have to see what kind of dimensions they want, what kind of resolution they want. And if you have a vector, it doesn't matter. It can give you any dimension because it's root.
And there are a lot of resources online if you're unsure about anything about dimensions or Google that. There's like a whole iPhone dimension website. It gives like all the nav bar dimensions and all the different elements and stuff like that. So it's really
size parameters. And slicing, it makes it so you can select a part of your image and then actually save it. So like if the client wants the product, you're not gonna send them like the Adobe Illustrator file. They're like, this is ugly, like you have all these like different components we don't want. So you're gonna slice it and you're gonna have like a nice, pretty PDF or PNG file you can send them.
The slice tool's right here. It's like this knife looking shape. You can just select slice tool, which is just a knife. And then you can select the element. And then you want to just make sure everything behind it is gone so that you just have a transparent background. So when you export it, there'll be nothing behind it. And then I believe you do save for web. And whatever slice is selected, you can choose up here, I want a PNG video. I don't think it really matters which one you choose, as long as it's a PNG, you should be good. And then you can just save that, and it will make like a folder full of all the images in your app.
And again, that's like the final result of all of this work that we're putting into it. So just getting that nice image out. And the slice tool is an Illustrator as well. If you want to end up slicing this, it's this tool.
Yeah, so that's basically what we wanted to introduce in terms of UI and UX design. We want you to have like a theoretical understanding of why it's important, but hopefully through the Photoshop and Illustrator tutorials, you guys will know some like basic ways to construct something.
And of course, yeah, with Xcode too. If you guys went to the earlier presentations, you saw that you can make some buttons go to next, go to other home pages where you can swipe functions and whatnot. That would be more of the UX design. That's what UX is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be more of the UX. So once you have, of course you have to start with the buttons first. You have to make designs, and on the other end, of course, you have to have the coding for the UX and Xcode. So you want to integrate the two, and then hopefully you have a harmonious collaboration with the two, and you'll have an awesome app.
Yeah, so basically for the teams out there who are just starting to not next week but the week after, they're gonna start doing wireframes and stuff. How would you suggest that they go about that?
Let's see. There are a lot of tools online too. There's Balsamic. Is that the one?
Yeah,
that you guys use?
we actually provide Balsamic for free for everyone, so everyone should be able to join Balsamic. That's a wireframing tool, and it's a very easy way to mock up your design for an application and also indicate how the navigation is going to work with the app, and that's huge in terms of user experience. Before you go into Photoshop and make things pretty, you might want to do like a pencil sketch and then maybe a balsamic on how it's going to look like, and then you can make a fancy Photoshop image file for like various things that you want to do.
And Balsamic, how much is Balsamic usually if you want to buy it on your own?
If you want to buy it on your own, I'm not sure, but they give it to us for free.
Yeah,
so
it's
just
for like educational purposes. So it's like a great tool, and like we're really grateful to have it.
And in the professional world, they use software like Balsamic, Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator. These are things once you do an internship over the summer, if you tell them that you've done this, they're going to be impressed. And this is what professionals, 10 years in the field, they'll be using the same stuff. So the stuff you learn here is actually very much applicable, and that's why I said during one of the orientations that it doesn't really matter how rough the economy is, because there'll always be jobs for people who are doing stuff like this. So yeah.
Thinking about like putting an app that you made like on your portfolio, if it looks like really polished and kind of stands out, I think that's really cool. Especially for a graphic designer, it's good to have some pretty well designed and well functional apps.
And also I know we have most computer science and engineering here. I'm in engineering now. And it'd be nice, this is kind of like you can add graphic design to your arsenal, because if you're joining like a startup, you're not going to have someone that's specifically graphic design, but if you know how to do this stuff, they'll be like, wow, maybe we need a graphic designer. and they'll pick you over someone who doesn't know how to do graphic design because you'll be able to make the things look pretty. They don't have to pay someone else to do it, and you'll be able to do it for them. So, I mean,
Just replace me.
Ideally, you want to have a good graphic designer, but then again, it's just undergraduate, so you can go into any route you want.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's that vectorizing tool that you used before? Is that available out of any free software?
Not that I know of, no.
I'll search it actually. I think
So what is it?
do you does Inkscape have the image trace tool?
I'm not sure.
It's coming up, yeah. Image trace outline. I think Inkscape does have it. Yeah, Inkscape tutorial tracing. So Inkscape does have it. It might not be as polished as Adobe Illustrator because I don't know how many algorithms they have working there and how many different specifications they have, but if you can get your hands on Illustrator, it's a great thing to have. Or else there's also another way to do it. If you end up having the logo here, you can actually trace it with different tools. You can use the circle tool to trace it here. To end up changing the dimension of the circle, of course. If you have more time on your hands, and sometimes the traces don't work very well too, but you can trace it like this. One of the foundations we're working with is Angel Ed, and they're a great corporation, but they have an example of a really intricate logo. Let's see. Google this. So we want to get a nice Google.
Does anyone know what my laptop is? The one for attendance?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, before you guys leave, make sure you sign in on one of those laptops. Just find your email and put an X in the column if you haven't done so already. And yeah. So, and that document can actually be found under shared with me in Google Drive. Yeah. Keep watching.
So you're just showing them how.
Yeah, I was showing them the image trace of this. This one I tried doing earlier, and you'll be able to see, this is necessarily good or worse design, but this is more just what's easier to work with, and also what's more visually appealing, I guess. So we have Angel Ed right here. And this is an image, it's no vectors. If you try to click on it, it's just a square. That's how you know it's just an image. So we're going to do image trace. Let's try, let's see what happens. Yeah, that doesn't look good. High fidelity photo. And this is these are algorithms that work right here. There's so many different components of this picture. There you go. Is that wow, that's actually a really good one. Yeah. Wow.
So it all became vectors.
Yeah, so everything here is a vector. And you can see it's a little bit distorted. I think I'm looking at that example. Yeah, so now we can work with this now. We can make an app for Angel Ed. We can take this, we can paste it on the app we made earlier, and we can, well, we pretty much have the app done already if they don't want us to change the logo at all. Yeah, if we want to. For another time, yes. Yeah. But yeah.
Do you guys have any questions at all? There's still a lot of time that you can learn this stuff, and we're always here for resources if you have any questions. We're doing more workshops with this, so you'll actually be able to go and try and get these things going. But we really encourage you guys to just after you leave this place, just try and pay a little bit more attention to the apps you use maybe, and just look around you and notice design in different ways. You can end up incorporating some really unique ideas into your app.
Yeah, just practice. You'll be surprised how many things you can do in little projects. It's going to be really different on each platform that you use to make it. But it's different languages of coding. Java versus C++ versus Python. You can still work for any company as long as you know how to make the same results. So, yeah.
Thanks for coming, though.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
There's more announcements.
Oh yeah. Basically, we're gonna give you a email for everyone who marked their name down for attendance. We'll let you know how to access Photoshop, Balsamic, Adobe Illustrator is a free software that Patrick suggested, and other things. So make sure you mark an X near your name. And tomorrow at 10 a.m., we're actually going to be doing some programming if you want to make your first application. Today was very important because the programming stuff, we try to offer something every single weekend. But design, this is like once every month probably we're going to have something on design. So I just wanted to expose you guys to what's possible and start thinking about, how to make things flow and pretty. And yeah, so. All right, see you guys Sunday at 10 a.m. or at your team meeting. And team meetings are important.